The stars looked cold and distant from the main viewing window of the Guardian. Captain James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his blue uniform crisp despite being 18 hours into his shift. The ship hummed around him, the newest and most powerful vessel in the United Earth Defense Fleet. But even the Guardian, with all its advanced systems, followed the Starship principle. "Captain, incoming message from Outpost Sigma," called Lieutenant Anna Miller from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel, her face lit by the blue glow of the screens. Walker nodded. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the tired face of Commander Ray Wilson. The outpost commander looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Captain Walker," Wilson said, his voice tight. "We've lost contact with Weber Colony." Walker frowned. "Technical difficulties?" "That's what I thought at first, but this makes 3 colonies in the last month. First Hawkins, then New Denver, and now Weber." Wilson ran a hand through his gray hair. "No distress calls, no signs of attack. They just went silent." The bridge grew quiet. 3 colonies meant this wasn't an accident. "Have you reported this to the Galactic Council?" Walker asked. Wilson nodded. Their response was unhelpful. They suggested we check our communication equipment. Walker felt his jaw tighten. The Galactic Council had a way of ignoring human problems. Most of the older spacefaring races still saw humans as newcomers, even after 200 years among the stars. "Send me all the data you have," Walker said. "We'll investigate." After the call ended, Miller approached his side. "Sir, the Council should be taking this more seriously." "They follow protocols, Lieutenant, and their protocols say 3 missing colonies isn't enough to worry about yet." Walker turned to her. "Plot a course to Weber Colony. Let's see for ourselves." The Guardian dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Weber system. The colony planet hung in the distance, a blue-green world that looked peaceful from space. "Scans show the colony infrastructure is intact," reported Officer Tom Bell from the science station. "Power signatures are normal, but I'm not detecting any movement on the surface." "No ships in orbit or at the docking platforms," added Miller. "It's like everyone just left." Walker studied the planet. 10,000 colonists couldn't just disappear. "Any signs of the local defense ships?" "Nothing, sir," Miller said. "Wait, detecting debris in high orbit. Could be from the Weber defense vessel." Walker ordered a small team to board a shuttle and check the colony. He wanted to go himself, but knew his place was on the Guardian. 8 hours later, the team returned with disturbing news. "The colony is empty, sir," reported Security Chief Mark Davis. "No bodies, no signs of struggle. The buildings are intact. Food was left on tables. It's like everyone vanished in the middle of daily life." Walker felt a chill run down his spine. "And the data cores?" "Wiped clean," Davis said. "Whoever did this didn't want to leave any clues." That night Walker couldn't sleep. He walked the quiet halls of his ship, thinking about 10,000 missing people. The Starship principle had kept peace in the galaxy for centuries. All vessels, no matter their size or purpose, had strict limits on their weapon systems. This meant no civilization could quickly overwhelm another, giving diplomacy time to work. But if someone was breaking that rule, his personal communicator beeped. It was Miller. "Sir, I think I found something. Can you come to the data lab?" Walker found her surrounded by holographic displays, her face serious in the blue light. "I've been running deeper scans on the communication logs from Weber Colony," she said. "Most of the data was erased, but I found fragments of an encrypted transmission, sent just before they went silent." She pulled up a display showing broken lines of code. "It took some work, but I managed to recover part of the message." With a flick of her hand, she played the recovered transmission. Static filled the room, but through it, a man's voice could be heard, tight with fear. "Not responding to hails. The ship doesn't match any known design. They're not..." More static. "Weapons beyond anything." The voice returned one last time, clearer. "They aren't following the rules anymore." Walker felt his blood run cold. "Can you clean it up more? Get a full message?" Miller shook her head. This is everything that survived. But sir, what rules was he talking about? The only rules that matter between civilizations, Walker said quietly. The Starship Principle. The next morning, Walker called a meeting with his senior officers. The Guardians' conference. Room was plain but comfortable, with a table made of real wood, a luxury in space. The evidence suggests that someone attacked 3 human colonies using technology that breaks the Starship Principle, Walker told his team. If true, this threatens not just Earth, but the entire galactic peace. Chief Engineer Robert Green spoke up. That's a big claim, Captain. The principle is held for 400 years, and it only takes one group to break it, Walker replied. We need to investigate further, but carefully. If someone is using advanced weapons, the Guardian would be outmatched. Should we inform Earth Command? Asked Miller. Walker nodded. I've sent a full report, but until we have more evidence, I doubt they'll take major action. As if on cue, his communicator beeped with a message from Admiral Thomas Reed, the head of Earth's Defense Forces. Walker, I've reviewed your report, Reed's holographic image said. His face looked grave. Concerning, but not enough for us to make accusations at the Council. I'm giving you authorization to investigate further, but be discreet. The last thing we need is to create panic or appear paranoid to the older civilizations. After the call ended, Miller lingered in the conference room. There's something else, isn't there? Walker asked, recognizing the look on her face. Yes, sir. I did some digging into previous incidents similar to this one. She placed a data pad on the table. 3 times in the last century, outposts went silent along the borders of known space. Each time the Council investigated and found nothing. Each time it was written off as equipment failure, or colonists abandoning their posts. Walker picked up the pad. You think they're connected? I think something's been happening at the edges of our territory for a long time, Miller said, and I think someone's been covering it up. Walker looked out the viewport at the stars. The galaxy had been at peace for centuries, united under the Starship Principle. But what if that peace was built on lies? Set course for the border of Sector 12, he ordered. There's an old monitoring station there that might have recorded ships passing near Weber Colony. As the Guardian prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Walker couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading towards something that would change the galaxy forever. The age of the Starship Principle, the age of limitation, restraint, and careful peace might be coming to an end, and humanity needed to be ready when it did. The old monitoring station floated in the darkness of space like a forgotten toy. Once a busy outpost marking the edge of human territory, it had been automated for decades. Its sensors still worked, silently watching ships pass through this quiet sector of space. The Guardian approached slowly, running silent. Captain Walker stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view screen. Any signs of other ships? He asked. None, sir, Lieutenant Miller replied. We're alone out here. Officer Bell spoke up from his station. Captain, I'm accessing the station's sensor logs now. The data goes back 3 months. Walker moved to stand behind Bell's chair. Look for anything unusual around the time Weber Colony went silent. The bridge crew watched as Bell sorted through the data. Minutes passed in tense silence. There, Bell said suddenly. 6 days ago, a ship passed through this sector heading toward Weber Colony, but it doesn't match any known design in our database. On the screen, a blurry image appeared. The ship was long and sleek, with strange bulges along its sides that might have been weapon ports. Walker had never seen anything like it. Can you enhance the image? He asked. Bell tried, but the picture remained fuzzy. This is the best I can do with the old sensors, but I did find something else. He pulled up another screen. The station recorded energy readings from the ship. If these are accurate, its power output is, well, it's 3 times what should be possible under the Starship Principle. Walker felt his stomach tighten. Any markings we can identify? Miller leaned closer to the screen. There, on the hull, that symbol. She tapped at her console, searching the database. It belongs to the Thar Collective. The Thar? Walker frowned. They're one of the oldest peaceful races in the galaxy. They helped write the Starship Principle. Maybe they're not so peaceful anymore, suggested Davis from his security station. Walker shook his head. Let's not jump to conclusions. Plot a course to the Thar border. Maybe we can... Captain, Miller interrupted, her voice urgent. I'm picking up a distress signal. It's weak, but it's definitely coming from just outside this system. Put it through. Static filled the bridge, then a broken voice. Require immediate assistance. We are a Thar science vessel under attack by unknown. The message cut out, then returned. Weapons unlike anything. Help us. Walker didn't hesitate. Set course for that signal. Maximum speed. Prepare for possible combat. The Guardian shot through space toward the source of the distress call. Within minutes, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel into a scene of destruction. A Thar vessel drifted in space, torn apart by what must have been powerful weapons. Pieces of the ship floated around it like a cloud of metal snow. The ship's main section was still intact, but dark and lifeless. Life signs? Walker asked. Bell shook his head. None, sir, but the ship's core is still stable. We could send a team to investigate. Walker nodded. Prepare a boarding party. I'm going with them. Miller looked surprised. Sir, protocol says... The captain should... I know what protocol says, Lieutenant. Walker cut her off. But I need to see this for myself. The inside of the Thar vessel was cold and silent. Walker led a small team through the darkened corridors, their flashlights cutting through the gloom. The air was thin but breathable. The Thar breathed the same air mix as humans, Walker explained as they moved deeper into the ship. It's why our species have always gotten along well. They reached the bridge to find it empty of life. The Thar, known for their tall, slender bodies and calm demeanor, were nowhere to be seen. But the ship's computers still worked. See if you can access their logs, Walker ordered. I want to know what happened here. Tech Officer Lisa Jones nodded and began working at the alien console. The Thar used a simple operating system that most humans could navigate. Sir, Jones called after a few minutes, I found the final log entry. It's disturbing. The screen lit up with the face of a Thar. Its large eyes looked worried, its normally blue skin pale with fear. This will be our final record, the Thar said in its musical voice. The ship that attacked us bore markings of the Thar Collective, but it was not one of ours. Its weapons, they should not exist, not under the principle. We tried to communicate, but they opened fire without warning. Before our systems failed, we detected modifications to their ship that go far beyond what is permitted. If anyone finds this message, warn the Council. Something terrible is happening. The recording ended. Walker felt a coldness that had nothing to do with the ship's failed life support. Keep searching, he told his team. I want to know everything about this ship and what happened to it. As they explored further, they found something even more alarming in the cargo hold. Weapons. Advanced weapons that the peaceful Thar shouldn't have had. These don't match any known Thar designs, Davis said, examining one of the rifle-like objects. They're more advanced than anything I've seen. Walker picked up one of the weapons. It was lighter than it looked, the metal warm to the touch. They were preparing for something, arming themselves despite the principle. Captain, Miller called over the comm. You need to return to the Guardian immediately. We're receiving an emergency transmission from Earth. Back on the Guardian, Walker watched as Admiral Reed's face filled the main screen. The Admiral looked grim. Walker, the situation has escalated, Reed said without preamble. The Galactic Council has called an emergency summit. 7 major civilizations have reported missing colonies or outposts. This isn't just happening to us. Walker shared what they had found on the Thar vessel. Reed's expression grew darker with each word. This confirms our worst fears, the Admiral said. Someone is violating the Starship Principle on a massive scale. I need you to return to Earth immediately. The Council representatives will arrive in 48 hours. As the Guardian set course for Earth, Walker stood alone in his quarters, thinking about what he had seen. The Starship Principle had been the foundation of peace for centuries. Every civilization agreed to limit their military technology, ensuring that no one could gain too much power too quickly. Without those limits, war would return to the stars. And from what he had seen on that Thar vessel, someone was already preparing for it. His door chimed. It was Miller. "Sir, there's something else you should know," she said. "I analyzed the weapon we found. It has components from multiple civilizations. Thar, human, and at least 3 others. Whoever built it had access to technology from across the galaxy." Walker considered this. "Not a single rogue group, then. This is bigger." "Yes, sir, and one more thing." Miller hesitated. The computer picked up a name in the Thar logs, something called the Vanguard. Before Walker could respond, the ship's alarms blared. "Captain, to the bridge," came the urgent call over the comm system. When they arrived, Bell was at his station, his face pale. "Sir, we just received word from Earth. A fleet of unidentified vessels has appeared near Jupiter. They're heading toward Earth with weapons powered up." Walker felt his heart sink. The peace had already been broken, and humanity was the first target. The Guardian pushed its engines beyond safe limits, racing toward Earth. On the bridge, Captain Walker watched the status reports with growing dread. Earth's orbital defenses were engaged with the unknown fleet, but the reports weren't good. "How much longer until we reach Earth?" Walker asked. 3 hours at current speed," Miller replied, her face tense. "But the battle might be over by then." Walker gripped the arms of his command chair. "Can we go any faster?" Chief Engineer Green's voice came over the comm. "Captain, the engines are already running hot. Push them any harder, and we risk a core breach." Walker closed his eyes for a moment. His ship, the most advanced in the human fleet, might arrive too late to help. "Sir," Officer Bell called, "I'm receiving a new transmission from Earth Defense Command. Admiral Reed is requesting to speak with you." Reed's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Walker could see the command center was in chaos, with officers running back and forth. "Walker, the situation is critical," Reed said, his voice steady despite the obvious strain. "The enemy fleet consists of 23 ships of unknown design. They've already destroyed 3 of our orbital platforms." "What about evacuation?" Walker asked. "It's underway, but there's not enough time to get everyone off planet." Reed's expression hardened. "I've made a decision, Walker. I'm activating Protocol Prometheus." Walker felt his breath catch. Protocol Prometheus was a last resort measure, something discussed only in the most classified briefings. "Sir, are you sure?" Walker asked. "Once we cross that line..." "The line has already been crossed," Reed interrupted. "The Starship principal is dead. We need to accept that reality and respond accordingly." He looked directly at the camera. "Your ship has hidden capabilities, Captain. It's time to use them." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Captain," Miller said quietly, "what is Protocol Prometheus?" Walker stood up. "Lieutenant Miller, Chief Engineer. Green, come with me. The rest of you continue on course for Earth." Deep in the Guardian's engineering section, Walker led Miller and Green to a sealed door marked Maintenance Access Only. He placed his hand on a scanner hidden behind a panel. "Captain, James Walker authorization code Prometheus Alpha 97. The door slid open, revealing a room that shouldn't exist. Inside was a secondary control center filled with equipment neither Miller nor Green had ever seen before. "What is this place?" Green asked, his eyes wide. "The truth," Walker said simply. "For the past 100 years, Earth has been preparing for the day when the Starship principle might fail. Every ship in our fleet has a secret section like this one, containing systems that go far beyond what the principle allows." He moved to a control panel and entered a series of commands. Throughout the ship, hidden compartments began to open, revealing weapons and technology that had been concealed even from the crew. "We never wanted to use these," Walker continued. "The principle kept the peace. But now that others have broken it, we have no choice." Green ran his hand over one of the newly revealed control panels. "These power readings, they're impossible." "Not impossible," Walker corrected him. "Just forbidden. Until now." Miller looked at her captain with new eyes. "You knew about this all along?" Only ship captains and the highest levels of Earth Command are briefed on Prometheus. Walker met her gaze. I didn't like keeping secrets from my crew, but it was necessary. A notification beeped on the main console. Walker checked it and nodded grimly. It's happening across the fleet. Every Earth ship is activating their hidden systems. He turned to Green. Chief, I need you to integrate these new systems with our main controls. We have 3 hours to learn how to use weapons no human has ever fired in combat. The battle over Earth was visible from millions of miles away. Flashes of light marked the destruction of ships and defense platforms. The unknown fleet, the Vanguard as they now knew, had pushed past the outer defenses and was approaching Earth orbit. The Guardian dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, joining 5 other human warships that had responded to the distress call. Status report, Walker ordered as they approached the battle. 17 enemy ships still active, Bell reported. Earth's orbital defenses are at 30% capacity. Civilian evacuation is ongoing but slow. Walker opened a channel to the other human ships. This is Captain Walker of the Guardian. Protocol Prometheus is active. All ships, prepare to engage with full capabilities. On the main view screen, Walker could see the enemy fleet. The ships were sleek and powerful, unlike any known design. They moved with precision, targeting Earth's defenses methodically. They're well trained, Miller observed, fighting as a unit. Walker nodded. Target the lead vessel. Let's show them what humanity has been hiding. The Guardian surged forward, its newly revealed weapons powering up. Energy readings spiked to levels that would have been impossible under the Starship principle. Weapons locked, Davis reported from Tactical. Ready to fire? Walker took a deep breath. This was the moment when humanity would reveal its true strength and break the principle they had publicly upheld for centuries. Fire. The Guardian released a beam of energy so bright it was hard to look at. It struck the lead enemy vessel, cutting through its shields like they weren't there. The ship broke apart in a silent explosion. The other human ships followed suit, unleashing weapons that had been kept secret for generations. The enemy fleet, caught by surprise, began to scatter. They didn't expect this, Miller said, watching the battle unfold. They thought we were following the principle. This is just the beginning, Walker replied. Target their command ship next. The battle turned quickly. The enemy fleet, facing weapons they hadn't prepared for, began a fighting retreat. Within an hour, they had withdrawn from Earth orbit, jumping to faster-than-light speed with the human fleet in pursuit. As the Guardian followed, Admiral Reed contacted them again. Good work, Walker, he said. But this isn't over. The Vanguard has attacked 3 other worlds in the past hour. This was coordinated. What are our orders? Walker asked. Track that fleet. Find out where they're going and who they really are. Reed's face was grim. Meanwhile, I'll be at the Emergency Council meeting, explaining why Earth just revealed weapons technology we swore we didn't have. After the call ended, Walker stood in silence for a moment. The crew watched him, waiting. The galaxy changed. Today, he finally said. For centuries, every civilized world followed the Starship principle. We limited our weapons, our defenses, our technology, all to maintain peace. He looked around at his crew. That era is over now. We need to be ready for what comes next. Miller stepped closer. Sir, if we had these weapons all along, why didn't we use them to protect our colonies? Because once we revealed them, there was no going back, Walker answered. Earth Command hoped to find another solution. He shook his head. They waited too long. Captain, Bell called out. I'm tracking the enemy fleet. They appear to be heading toward the outer rim, beyond council space. Walker nodded. Follow them. Keep your distance, but don't lose them. He turned to Miller. Lieutenant, I want everything we have on the Vanguard. Someone in the galaxy must know who they are. As the Guardian pursued the retreating fleet, Walker wondered what other secrets would be revealed in the coming days. If Earth had hidden such power, what might other civilizations have concealed? The age of trust was over. The age of power had begun. For 3 days, the Guardian followed the trail of the Vanguard fleet. They kept their distance, using the ship's enhanced sensors to track the enemy without being detected. The crew worked in shifts, staying alert for any sign of an ambush. Captain Walker spent most of his time on the bridge, sleeping only when Miller insisted. Dark circles formed under his eyes as he studied the path the enemy was taking. "They're heading toward the location of one of our missing colonies," Walker said, pointing to a star map. "New Denver." Miller leaned over his shoulder, looking at the display. "Do you think that's their base?" "Maybe. Or maybe they're going back to wherever they took the colonists." Walker rubbed his tired eyes. "Either way, we need to know what we're facing." The ship's comm system beeped with an incoming message. It was Admiral Reed, looking even more exhausted than Walker. "The council meeting was difficult," Reed said without preamble. "Several civilizations have accused Earth of violating the Starship principle. Others have admitted they also had secret weapons programs." "The principal was already dead," Walker replied. "We just confirmed it." Reed nodded grimly. "The council is in chaos, but we've formed an alliance with the Thar Collective and 3 other major civilizations. They're sending ships to support your mission." He leaned closer to the camera. "Find out what happened to those colonists, Walker, and find out why the Vanguard is doing this." New Denver had been a thriving colony on a rich green world. Now, as the Guardian approached from behind one of the planet's moons, they could see something massive being built on the surface. "It looks like some kind of installation," Bell said, examining the sensor readings. "Definitely not part of the original colony. It covers nearly 100 square miles." Walker studied the images on the main screen. "Are there any people down there?" "Yes, sir. Several thousand life signs, but they're concentrated in specific areas. And there are strange energy readings throughout the facility." 4 ships from their new alliance had joined the Guardian. 1 Thar vessel, 2 from the Holan Republic, and 1 from the old Varn Empire. Together they formed a small but powerful strike force. "We need to get closer," Walker decided. "Prepare a stealth shuttle. I'll lead a small team to the surface." Miller immediately stood up. "I'm going with you, sir." Walker nodded. He had expected nothing less. The shuttle landed in a forested area 3 miles from the massive installation. Walker led a team of 6, including Miller and Davis, through the thick undergrowth. The air was clean but carried an odd metallic smell. As they approached the edge of the forest, they got their first clear view of what the Vanguard was building. It was an enormous structure, with towers reaching toward the sky and deep sections that disappeared underground. Energy fields shimmered around parts of it. "It almost looks like a defensive position," Davis said quietly, "like they're preparing for an attack." "But from what?" Walker wondered. They moved closer, using scanner technology that had been hidden under the Starship principle. It allowed them to detect the movement of guards and security systems without being found. "There," Miller whispered, pointing to an area where people were working. "Those are humans. And are those Thar?" Through binoculars, Walker could see colonists from different species working together. They moved without speaking, their faces blank as they carried materials and operated machinery. "Something's controlling them," Walker said. "We need to get inside." They found an entry point at a loading area where supplies were being brought in. Using stealth technology built into their armor, another violation of the principle, they slipped past the guards and into the massive structure. Inside, the air was colder. The walls were made of a material Walker had never seen before, with strange symbols etched into them. They moved silently through corridors that seemed designed for beings of various sizes. "Captain," Miller whispered, checking her scanner. "I'm picking up a high concentration of life signs 1 level down. It could be more colonists." They found a way down and entered what appeared to be a large control room. Inside, people from at least 5 different species worked at stations. Their movements were mechanical, their eyes unfocused. "They've been mind-controlled somehow," Davis said, scanning one of the workers. "Their brain patterns are all wrong." Walker noticed a separate room beyond the control center. Through its transparent walls, he could see a single figure standing at a large display. The figure was human, Wait here, Walker ordered. If something goes wrong, get back to the ship and warn the others. Using his stealth field, Walker approached the room. The door was unlocked. He stepped inside, weapon ready, and deactivated his stealth field. That's far enough, the figure said without turning around. I was wondering when Earth would find us. The man turned slowly. He was tall and lean, with gray at his temples and a face that looked vaguely familiar. Commander Alex Gray, the man said, introducing himself, though I suspect Earth has listed me as dead by now. Walker kept his weapon aimed at Gray's chest. You were on the deep space mission to Sector 19. Your ship was reported lost 10 years ago. Gray smiled without humor. Not lost. Enlightened. I found something out there, Captain. Something that changed everything. And what was that? Walker asked, keeping his distance. The truth. That the galaxy is in danger, and the Starship principal was going to get us all killed. Gray gestured to the display behind him. Would you like to see? Against his better judgment, Walker moved closer. The display showed what looked like astronomical data, the movement of stars and galaxies over vast periods of time. Every 50,000 years, Gray explained, something enters our galaxy from the void between galaxies. The ancient records call it the Devourer. It consumes civilizations, entire worlds, and then retreats back into the darkness. He pointed to a pattern in the data. It's due to return within the century. Walker studied the display. And you believe this? I've seen the evidence. The ruins of dead civilizations that once spanned hundreds of worlds, all destroyed at the same time. Their final messages all speak of the same thing, a force they couldn't fight because they weren't prepared. So you decided to prepare, Walker said, understanding dawning. That's what this installation is for. Gray nodded. One of many. We're building across the galaxy. Defense systems on a scale never before imagined. Weapons that could potentially stop even something like the Devourer. By kidnapping colonists? Mind-controlling them? Regrettable, but necessary, Gray said, without remorse. We needed workers and we needed secrecy. The Council would never have approved what we're doing. And attacking Earth? How was that necessary? A test, Gray replied. We needed to see how Earth would respond. What hidden capabilities you had. You didn't disappoint. Walker felt his anger rising. You killed innocent people to test us. To save billions more. Gray's eyes hardened. The Starship principle kept us weak, Captain. It prevented us from developing the weapons we'll need when the Devourer returns. My Vanguard is doing what no one else had the courage to do. Break the rules to save everyone. Walker kept his weapon steady. And who put you in charge of saving the galaxy? Someone had to make the hard choices. Gray moved toward a control panel. You can either help us or stay out of our way, but you can't stop what's coming. Before Walker could respond, an alarm blared throughout the facility. Gray smiled. It seems your friends have been discovered. The choice is yours, Captain. Join us and help save the galaxy, or die here with your principles intact. Walker looked at the man who had once been a respected Earth officer. There's always another way, Gray. One that doesn't involve becoming monsters ourselves. Gray's expression hardened. That's your answer, then? So be it. He pressed a button, and energy fields sprang up around the room, trapping Walker inside. Through the transparent wall, he could see his team being surrounded by armed guards. The galaxy's future hung in the balance, with two human visions of survival now locked in conflict. The energy field around Walker hummed with power. Through the transparent wall, he could see Miller and the others being surrounded by guards with weapons drawn. Gray watched him with cold eyes. Your team will be put to work with the other colonists, Gray said. Their skills will be useful. Walker's mind raced. You're making a mistake, Gray. Ruling through fear and control, that's not the way to save the galaxy. Gray merely smiled. We'll continue this discussion later, when you've had time to reconsider my offer. As Gray turned to leave, the entire facility shook. Alarms blared even louder than before. What was that? Gray demanded, rushing to a console. One of the mind-controlled workers spoke in a flat voice. Allied fleet is attacking the orbital defenses. Multiple ships detected. Gray's face darkened. Launch our ships. Defend the installation at all costs. Outside the energy field, Walker saw Davis make a quick movement. A small device slid across the floor, stopping at the base of the field generator. No one else seemed to notice. Walker met Davis's eyes briefly, then turned back to Gray. You can't win this fight, Commander. Not against the combined forces of 5 civilizations. We don't need to win, Gray replied, his fingers moving over the console. We just need to hold you off long enough to activate our network. Once all our installations are linked together, nobody will be able to stop us. The small device at the base of the field generator blinked once, then twice. Walker tensed, ready to move. The explosion was small but precise. The energy field flickered and died. In the same moment, Davis and Miller drew hidden weapons and fired at the guards, their shots precise and non-lethal. Walker lunged toward Gray, tackling him before he could reach for a weapon. They crashed to the floor, Gray fighting with a strength born of desperation. You're dooming us all, Gray shouted as they struggled. Walker pinned him down. There's always another way, Gray. Always. With Gray subdued and the guards neutralized, Walker and his team took control of the command center. Through the large windows, they could see the battle raging in orbit. The Allied fleet was engaging the Vanguard ships in a display of firepower that would have been impossible under the Starship principle. We need to free the colonists, Walker ordered. Find the control system that's keeping them under Vanguard. Control. Miller and Davis searched the command center while Walker kept Gray secured. Above them, the battle continued to rage. Here, Miller called after several tense minutes. This seems to be the central neural control system, but it's complex. I'm not sure how to shut it down without hurting the colonists. Walker turned to Gray. Tell us how to free them. Gray laughed bitterly. And undo years of work? Never. Then we'll figure it out ourselves, Walker said. He activated his comm. This is Captain Walker to Allied Fleet. We've secured the main command center of the Vanguard installation. We need technical specialists to help free the mind-controlled workers. As they waited for support, Walker forced Gray to show them the evidence he'd found. The records of ancient civilizations and the coming threat he called the Devourer. This data, Miller said, examining it closely. It's compelling, if it's real. It's real, Gray insisted. I found it in ruins that were 50,000 years old. The pattern is clear. Walker studied the star charts and ancient warnings. Even if this threat is real, your methods were wrong. You could have brought this evidence to the Council. They would have debated for decades, Gray snapped. We don't have time for debate. And you don't have the right to decide for the entire galaxy, Walker replied. The technical team from the Allied fleet arrived an hour later. Working carefully, they managed to disable the neural control system. Throughout the massive installation, thousands of colonists began to wake from their mental prison, confused and disoriented. With the battle in orbit won and the colonists freed, Walker faced a new problem: what to do with Gray's evidence about the Devourer. In his quarters aboard the Guardian, Walker discussed the situation with Miller. If Gray is right, we're facing something far worse than the Vanguard, Miller said. Walker nodded slowly. But his solution was just as dangerous. Building weapons that powerful, controlling people's minds. Where does it end? He stared out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened since they first discovered the missing colonies. The Starship principle had kept peace for centuries, but it had also kept civilizations divided, each secretly preparing for the day when the principle would fail. I think I know what we need to do, Walker said finally. 3 days later, on the neutral space station Harmony, representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy gathered in the Grand Council chamber. Walker stood before them, Gray's evidence displayed on the main screen. The Starship principle served us well for centuries, Walker began. It prevented wars and gave diplomacy time to work. But it also created distrust. Every civilization here developed secret weapons, hidden capabilities that went beyond the principle. We all prepared for the day when someone would break the rules. There were uncomfortable shifts among the representatives, but no denials. Now we face a potentially greater threat, Walker continued, displaying the evidence about the Devourer. Whether this threat is real or not, we can no longer afford to work separately, each civilization hiding its strengths from the others. Walker looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from species he'd never even seen before. I propose a new principle, he said. Not one of limitation, but of cooperation. Instead of hiding our technologies, we share them. Instead of building weapons in secret, we build defenses together. The chamber erupted in voices, some supportive, others skeptical. Walker let them talk, watching as the idea began to take hold. Finally, the ancient representative of the Varn Empire stood, silencing the room. For 10,000 years, my people have kept secrets, the Varn said, its voice translated through a device at its throat. We thought this made us strong. Perhaps it only made us alone. One by one, other representatives stood, offering cautious support for Walker's proposal. It would not be easy. Centuries of distrust would not disappear overnight. But it was a beginning. As the meeting continued, Walker stepped outside to a viewing area overlooking the stars. Miller joined him there. Do you think it will work? She asked. I don't know, Walker admitted. But I believe it's better than Gray's way, and better than going back to the old principle. They watched as ships from dozens of civilizations moved around the station, no longer hiding their true capabilities. Some carried weapons that could destroy planets, others had defenses that could withstand incredible attacks. All had been hidden until now. Every civilization will remember the day when Starships stopped being good, Miller said, quoting the message that had begun their journey. But perhaps they'll also remember what came after. Walker nodded, his eyes on the future. Not the end of an era, but the beginning of something better. Beyond the station, the stars continued their endless dance, unaware of the tiny beings who fought so hard to protect their place among them. Whether the Devourer was real or not, the galaxy would face it together, without secrets, without hiding their strength from each other. It was a new principle for a new age, one born from the ashes of the old. And it had begun with humanity's choice not to conquer but to connect. The stars shone like tiny diamonds against the black void of space as the Galactic Alliance patrol vessel, Serene Harmony, glided through the emptiness. Captain Trill sat in his command chair, his four thin arms resting lightly on the control panels. His skin, pale blue and slightly translucent, reflected the soft glow of the ship's lights. Captain, we're picking up something strange, said Officer Mick, his large eyes blinking rapidly as he studied his screen. Trill turned his elongated head toward the communication station. What kind of strange, Officer Mick? A distress signal, sir. But it's using an old code, not like any current Alliance protocols. The bridge grew quiet. Finding a distress signal in this uncharted sector was unusual. This region of space wasn't known for much traffic, being far from the established trade routes and settled worlds. Put it on the main screen, Trill ordered, his voice calm despite the tension building in the air. The large display at the front of the bridge flickered to life, showing a pulsing signal pattern that repeated every few seconds. The ship's computer tried to translate the code but could only determine it was a standard emergency beacon. Origin? Trill asked. First Officer Glip approached, the water in his transparent exoskeleton sloshing gently with each step. Unknown, Captain, but it's coming from Sector 7B, just beyond the Crimson Nebula, Trill thought for a moment. The Alliance had clear rules about distress calls. Any ship that could help must do so, regardless of who was asking. It was one of the founding principles that kept peace among the many different species that made up the Galactic Alliance. Set course for the signal origin. Maximum safe speed, he ordered. The Serene Harmony changed direction, its engines humming louder as it accelerated. The crew prepared for a rescue mission, though none knew what they might find. Should we alert Alliance Command? Asked Glip, his voice bubbling slightly through the speaking membrane near what passed for his mouth. Not yet, Trill replied. Let's see what we're dealing with first. Could be nothing more than a lost trader or a damaged probe. 3 hours later, The serene harmony slowed as it approached the source of the distress call. What they found made even the veteran crew members stare in shock. A ship unlike any they had seen before floated in space. It was angular, with sharp lines and dark metal plating. Parts of it were torn open, revealing the inner workings and compartments. Debris surrounded it like a cloud of metallic dust. "Life signs?" Trill asked, leaning forward in his chair. "Medical." Officer Pix ran her tendrils over her scanning equipment. "Yes, Captain. 5, no, wait, 6 life forms. But their readings are strange, not matching any known species in our database." This was unexpected. The Alliance had cataloged nearly every spacefaring race in this part of the galaxy. To find an unknown species, especially this far from any habitable worlds, was remarkable. "Is the ship a threat?" Security Chief Vex rumbled, his rocky skin grinding slightly as he shifted his massive form. As a stone shell, he was naturally cautious. His species evolved from creatures that had survived by assuming everything was dangerous until proven otherwise. "It appears heavily damaged," replied Officer Kell, who manned the sensors. "Multiple hull breaches. Their power systems are fluctuating. Whatever happened, they were lucky to survive." Captain Trill made a decision. "Send out a standard greeting. On all frequencies. Let them know we're here to help." Minutes passed with no response. "Perhaps their communications were damaged in whatever incident caused this," suggested Glip, his fluid body rippling with concern. "Or perhaps they don't understand our languages," added Pix. Trill nodded. "Move us closer within docking range. Prepare a boarding party. Standard rescue protocols." As the serene harmony drew nearer to the damaged vessel, they could see more details. The ship had markings on its hull, symbols they couldn't read but were clearly not random damage patterns. What looked like weapon systems were mounted at various points, though most were now twisted or broken. "Captain, I'm detecting something odd about their life support," reported Kell. "According to these readings, the atmosphere inside would be toxic to most Alliance species. High oxygen content, nitrogen, and trace gases that would cause respiratory failure in minutes for beings like us. And yet they live in it," murmured Trill, his 4 hands tapping thoughtfully on his armrests. "Fascinating." Suddenly, one of the screens flickered. The damaged ship was transmitting something, not just the repeating distress call, but an actual message. The computer struggled to make sense of it, the unknown language proving difficult to translate. After several attempts, broken words appeared on the screen. "This Earth vessel, relentless, crew, critical, assistance." "Earth?" repeated Glip, the water in his head bubble swirling in confusion. "I've never heard of such a place." "Nor have I," said Trill. "But they need help, and that's what we'll give them." The boarding party assembled quickly. Security Chief Vex, Medical Officer Pix, and 2 technical specialists named Zinn and Lork. All wore environmental suits designed to protect them from harmful atmospheres. "Remember," Captain Trill told them before they left, "we know nothing about this species. They may look strange to us, and we certainly will to them. Move slowly, make no threatening gestures, and focus on medical aid first." The team entered the airlock, which cycled through its decontamination sequence before connecting to the damaged ship's emergency docking port. Surprisingly, despite the extensive damage, the docking mechanisms were compatible enough to create a sealed pathway. "Atmosphere reading is even more extreme than we thought," reported Pix as they prepared to enter. "Temperature is much higher than our comfort levels in the air. It's filled with particles that would destroy our lungs. Whatever these beings are, they live in conditions that would kill most of us within minutes without protection." Vex checked his suit seals one last time. "Stay behind me. If anything seems threatening, we retreat immediately." The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. Emergency lighting cast red shadows along the walls, making the unfamiliar design seem even more alien. The team moved forward cautiously, their suit lights cutting through the gloom. They passed rooms with strange equipment, some still sparking with damaged electrical systems. The walls showed signs of intense heat and what looked like explosive damage. "They were attacked," said Vex, pointing to marks that could only have been made by weapons fire. "This way," called Pix, her scanners indicating life signs ahead. They're in what must be their control center. The door to the bridge was partially open, jammed by damage. Vex had to use his considerable strength to push it wide enough for them to enter. What they saw inside made them all stop in shock. 3 beings sat or lay slumped at control stations. They had no exoskeletons, scales, or protective shells. Their bodies were covered in a thin, soft-looking outer layer in various shades of brown and pink. Red fluid, clearly some kind of biological material, stained this covering in several places. One of the creatures turned toward them. It had a flat face with 2 forward-facing eyes that widened upon seeing the boarding party. It said something, the sounds harsh and quick. The translation matrix in their suits processed for a moment, then produced, "About time someone showed up, ship's not going to hold together much longer." And with those words, the Alliance crew knew that their galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. They had made first contact with humans. Security Chief Vex moved his massive stone-like body forward, positioning himself between his crew members and the strange beings. The human who had spoken tried to stand but fell back into the chair with a grunt. "Easy now," Medical Officer Pick said, moving past Vex despite his protective stance. Her translation device converted her words into sounds the unknown species might understand. "We're here to help." The human looked at them with those strange, water-filled eyes. Its face changed shape, pulling back to reveal white, hard structures in its mouth. The Alliance crew tensed, but their scanners didn't detect any spike in aggression. "Help would be good," the human said. "3 of us here, 2 more in the engine room. They're in worse shape." Pix approached with her medical scanner, moving it over the human who was speaking. The readings made her tendrils curl in surprise. "Your body temperature is extremely high," she said. "And your internal structure. You have a hard frame inside a soft exterior." She had never seen such a bizarre design in a spacefaring species. "Yeah, that's called bones and skin," the human replied. "Standard issue for Earth folks. Name's Jack. I'm the captain of this wreck." Captain. At least that concept translated across species barriers. Pix continued her scan while Vex and the technicians checked the other humans in the room. "You're injured," Pix said, noting several tears in the outer covering and the red fluid leaking from them. "This red substance, is it vital to your function?" Jack made a strange sound, something like air being pushed forcefully through his breathing apparatus. "That's blood. And yes, I'd prefer to keep most of it inside me. But help the others first. Tom over there took a bad hit to the head. Anna hasn't woken up in hours." Pix moved to the other humans while Technician Zin examined the ship's control panels. "Remarkable," Zin said. "Their technology is different from ours, but I can make sense of some of it. This vessel has taken massive damage. Life support is barely functioning. Power reserves at 12%. The human captain nodded. "We've been running on emergency systems since the attack. Managed to take out 3 of their ships before our main drives failed." Vex's rocky brow shifted, the equivalent of a raised eyebrow in his species. "You destroyed 3 attack vessels? In this ship?" "Like I said, it's a wreck now. Wasn't before we met those pirates." Jack pointed to a screen showing debris floating nearby. "That used to be one of theirs." The boarding party exchanged glances through their helmet visors. If this damaged vessel had indeed destroyed 3 enemy ships before succumbing to damage, these humans were either exceptional warriors or had technology more advanced than it appeared. "We need to move quickly," Pix announced. "These humans cannot survive much longer in these conditions. Their bodies require specific atmospheric compositions and temperatures." "Can you walk?" Vex asked the captain. Jack pushed himself up, swaying slightly. "Been better, been worse. Let's get my crew out first." "Zin, Lork, go to their engine room and find the other humans," Vex ordered. "I'll help these 3. As the technicians hurried off, Pix prepared emergency stabilization fields for the unconscious humans. These would maintain their current status until they could receive proper treatment aboard the Serene Harmony. "Your ship," Jack said, limping toward what looked like a storage compartment. "Can it tow the Relentless? There's data in our core. We need to preserve. We can establish a tractor field, Vex replied. But your vessel is severely damaged. It may not survive the stress. Jack reached the compartment and pressed his hand against a panel. It opened to reveal a small glowing cube. Then we take this. It's our mission data and black box. Everything else can burn. The way he said it made clear that the data was more important than the ship itself. Vex nodded and helped secure the cube while Pix finished preparing the injured humans for transport. A call came through from the technicians. We've found the other 2 humans. One is mobile, one is unconscious but stable. Bringing them up now. 10 minutes later, the entire human crew was being moved through the docking tunnel to the Serene. Harmony. Captain Trill waited anxiously as the boarding party returned with 5 beings unlike any he had seen before. Welcome aboard, Trill said as Jack was the last to step through. I am Captain Trill of the Galactic Alliance. Jack straightened his body as much as his injuries allowed, a gesture that seemed to have formal significance. Captain Jack Miller, of the Earth exploration vessel Relentless. On behalf of my crew, I thank you for responding to our distress call. Trill was impressed by the formality despite the human's obvious pain. Our medical team has prepared a specialized area based on the readings from your ship. We'll do our best to accommodate your unique requirements. Jack nodded, then suddenly his legs gave way. Vex caught him before he hit the floor. Your captain needs immediate attention, Vex said to the human who had introduced himself as Greg, the only other conscious member of their crew. Greg nodded. He's been keeping himself going on stims and stubbornness for the last 30 hours, typical Jack. As they moved the humans to the medical bay, the Alliance crew couldn't help but stare. These beings were so different from any species they knew. No natural armor, no enhanced sensory organs they could detect. Bodies that seemed fragile and exposed. In the medical bay, Dr. Lin had created a separate chamber with atmosphere and temperature adjusted to match the readings from the human ship. The humans were placed on examination beds, their vital signs monitored by specially calibrated equipment. Fascinating, Dr. Lin said, examining the readings. Their bodies contain metals. Iron, in particular, bonds with oxygen in their blood. That's why it's red. Greg, who was the least injured, sat on one of the beds while Lin treated a burn on his arm. You folks never seen humans before, huh? We have no record of your species in our database, Lin admitted. Where is Earth located? Pretty far from here. We're on a deep space mapping mission. First time anyone from Earth has been in this sector. And yet you encountered Vrexian pirates, Captain Trill said, entering the medical bay. They are notorious in this region. Most ships avoid their hunting grounds. Greg's face did something strange. It pulled back to show teeth, but in a way that seemed friendly rather than threatening. We weren't exactly avoiding trouble, Captain. Part of our mission is to chart hazards as well as resources. Trill's forearms moved in a gesture of surprise. You deliberately entered dangerous space with a single vessel? That's what we do, Greg said simply. Explore, learn, when necessary, fight. Dr. Lin interrupted with another discovery. Captain, these humans are healing at an observable rate. The minor wounds are already closing. Trill moved closer to observe. Indeed, the small cuts on Greg's exposed skin were visibly different than they had been just minutes ago. Is this normal for your species? Trill asked. Greg nodded. Basic human biology. We patch ourselves up pretty good. Nothing special about it. But to the Alliance crew, it was special. Most species they knew required medical technology to heal wounds, especially in space where natural healing was hampered by artificial environments. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Trill moved to a communication panel on the wall. Bridge, report. Captain, we're detecting multiple ships entering the sector. Configuration matches the debris found near the human vessel. Vrexian. Pirates, sir. It appears they've tracked down their prey. Trill looked at Greg, who was already standing despite the doctor's protests. Wake up, Jack, Greg said, his voice now hard and focused. Those pirates are about to learn why humans are the apex predators where we come from. The Alliance crew exchanged worried glances. They were a patrol vessel, not a warship. and now they were caught between injured humans and a vengeful pirate fleet. The real test of first contact was just beginning. Captain Trill rushed back to the bridge, his forearms working quickly over control panels as he settled into his command chair. The main screen showed 9 Vrexian vessels approaching in attack formation. "Shields at maximum," he ordered. "Prepare evasive maneuvers." First Officer Glip moved to his station, the fluid in his transparent body churning with anxiety. "Captain, we're outmatched. The Serene Harmony isn't built for combat against multiple pirate vessels." Trill knew this was true. His ship was a patrol and rescue vessel with minimal weapons. Against 9 Vrexian ships, they stood little chance. The door to the bridge slid open, and to everyone's surprise, Captain Jack entered, supported by Greg. Despite Dr. Lynn's protests following behind them, the 2 humans had left the medical bay. "You shouldn't be moving," Lynn said, his medical tendrils waving in frustration. "Your injuries require rest and treatment." Jack ignored him, focusing on the tactical display. 9 ships. That's the rest of their fleet. We took out 3 before. Our systems failed. Trill turned to face the humans. "You should return to medical. We will handle this situation." "With respect, Captain," Jack said, his voice stronger than before. "You're about to be attacked by ships that specialize in boarding and capturing vessels. If they get aboard, your crew will be sold as slaves in uncharted regions." The bridge grew quiet at this blunt assessment. "What do you suggest?" Trill finally asked. "Your ship is disabled, and ours is not designed for combat." Greg moved to the communication station. "We need to use your transmitter. Our backup plan might still work." Trill hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Officer Mick, assist them." Greg worked with Mick to adjust the communications array. Meanwhile, Jack studied the tactical display with Security Chief Vex, who had followed the humans to the bridge. "Their attack pattern is standard," Jack noted. "They'll try to disable your engines first, then your weapons, then force a boarding at multiple points." Vex's rocky features shifted in surprise. "You know their tactics well for someone who just encountered them." Jack's mouth formed that strange expression the Alliance crew was learning meant something positive. "We study predatory behavior. It's similar across species. These pirates are just space predators." "Transmission ready," Greg announced, broadcasting on encrypted Earth frequencies. "What exactly are you sending?" Trill asked. "A message," Jack said simply. "And coordinates. If we're lucky, someone will hear it." The Vrexian ships continued their approach. The lead vessel transmitted a message in the common trade language used throughout the sector. "Alliance vessel. Surrender the Earth ship and its crew. They have destroyed Alliance property and must face justice." "That's a lie," Vex growled. "They're no Alliance members." Jack nodded. "Pirates often pose as authorities, makes their victims hesitate." Trill opened a channel. "Vrexian vessels. This is Captain Trill of the Galactic Alliance. Your claim is false. Withdraw from this sector immediately." The only response was the pirates' increasing speed toward the Serene Harmony. "They'll be in weapons range in 2 minutes," Officer Kell reported from the sensor station. Jack turned to Trill. "Captain, do you trust me?" The Alliance captain studied the human. Despite being injured and in an unfamiliar environment, Jack showed no fear, only focus and determination. "What do you need?" Trill asked. "I need control of your ship's maneuvering systems. Greg needs access to your communications array to continue broadcasting. And we need to move close to the wreck of the Relentless." Trill considered for only a moment. "Granted. Officer Kell, transfer flight control to the auxiliary station." Jack moved to the indicated control panel, his fingers dancing over the unfamiliar interface with surprising speed. The Serene Harmony suddenly accelerated, changing course toward the drifting wreck of the human vessel. "What are you doing?" Glip asked, his watery body rippling with alarm. "Creating confusion," Jack replied without looking up. "The pirates think we're trying to recover something from our ship." The Vrexian fleet adjusted course, splitting into 2 groups. 5 ships pursued the Serene Harmony, while 4 moved to cut off access to the Relentless. They took the bait. Greg said, still working at the communication station. Signal is being boosted through the Relentless's remaining transmitter array. The first shots from the pirate vessels flashed past the Serene Harmony as Jack executed a series of evasive maneuvers that seemed impossible for a ship of this size. The Alliance crew held onto their stations as the inertial dampeners struggled to compensate. "Where did you learn to fly like this?" Trill asked, impressed despite the danger. "Earth has high gravity and dense atmosphere," Jack explained, hands moving constantly over the controls. "Space is actually easier to navigate than our home skies." The pirates continued firing, several hits rocking the Serene Harmony. Damage reports flooded in from all decks. "Shields at 63%, Kell reported. "We cannot sustain this assault for long." Jack nodded to Greg. "Any response?" Greg checked his console. "Nothing yet, but the signal is strong." The Serene Harmony shuddered as another volley hit its shields. Jack executed a tight turn around the floating wreck of the Relentless, using it as partial cover. "Wait," Kell suddenly said, staring at his sensor readings. "I'm detecting a new energy signature at the edge of the system. It's massive." Everyone turned to the main screen as the sensors focused on the newcomer. A ship appeared, sleek and deadly looking, moving at incredible speed toward their position. "That," Jack said with evident satisfaction, "is the Thunderstrike, Earth's newest warship." The Alliance crew stared in stunned silence as the human vessel approached. It was nearly twice the size of the Serene Harmony, and bristling with what were obviously weapon systems. "You had a warship nearby all this time?" Trill asked, his voice a mixture of relief and confusion. Jack nodded. The Relentless was mapping this sector. The Thunderstrike was hanging back, out of sensor range, standard procedure when exploring potentially hostile regions. "You used your ship as bait," Vex realized, his rocky features showing newfound respect. "Exploration is dangerous," Greg said simply. "We prepare accordingly." On screen, the approaching Earth vessel accelerated even further. The Rexian pirates, noticing the newcomer, began to regroup. "They're forming a defensive formation," Kell observed. "All 9 ships coordinating against the human vessel." Jack and Greg exchanged looks. "They have no idea what they're facing," Greg said quietly. The Thunderstrike opened fire. The Alliance crew watched in amazement as precision beams of energy struck the lead Vrexian vessel, cutting through its shields as if they weren't there. The pirate ship exploded in a brilliant flash. "One shot," Vex murmured in disbelief. The remaining pirates attempted to scatter, but the Thunderstrike moved with impossible agility for a vessel its size. 2 more pirate ships erupted into flames before the others could even change course. "The Thunderstrike is hailing us," Mick announced from the communication station. Trill nodded, and the screen changed to show the bridge of the human warship. A woman with dark skin and short hair sat in the command chair, her uniform similar to Jack's but with additional markings. "Captain Miller," she said, addressing Jack. "Your distress call mentioned you found new friends." Jack straightened, despite his injuries. "Captain Laura, meet Captain Trill of the Galactic Alliance. They rescued us after our encounter with the pirates." The woman nodded respectfully to Trill. "Captain, on behalf of Earth, thank you for assisting our people. We'll clean up this pirate problem for you." Trill found himself speechless. The casual way she spoke of eliminating 9, now 6, deadly pirate vessels was astonishing. "We are grateful for your assistance," he finally managed to say. On the tactical display, the remaining Vrexian ships were attempting to flee. The Thunderstrike pursued with methodical precision, disabling engines and weapon systems without completely destroying the vessels. "We'll leave some for your authorities to question," Captain Laura explained. "They might have useful intelligence about other pirate activities in this sector." As the Alliance crew watched the human warship effortlessly capture the remaining pirates, a new understanding dawned on them. These humans, these Deathworlders from a high-gravity planet with their strange internal skeletons and remarkable healing abilities, were not just survivors, they were warriors, and they had just become the most interesting new species the Alliance had ever encountered. 2 days after the battle with the pirates, The Serene Harmony and the Earth warship Thunderstrike traveled together toward the nearest Alliance outpost. The human crew from the damaged Relentless had been moved to the Thunderstrike's advanced medical facilities except for Captain Jack, who chose to remain aboard the Alliance vessel as a liaison. Captain Trill called a meeting with his senior officers and their human guest. They gathered in the ship's conference room, where a table had been modified to accommodate Jack's different body structure. The Alliance High Command is very interested in making formal contact with your people, Trill began, his forearms making a gesture of openness. This is the most significant first contact we've had in over 50 cycles. Jack nodded, looking much healthier after receiving proper medical treatment. Earth will be interested too. We've been searching for intelligent life beyond our solar system for generations. First Officer Glip's fluid body rippled with curiosity. You've never encountered other sentient species before us? We've found simple life forms on other planets, but nothing that built ships or created technology, Jack explained. You're our first. The Alliance officers exchanged looks of surprise. In their experience, most spacefaring races had encountered at least a few other species before joining the wider galactic community. Tell us about Earth, Security Chief Vex requested. Our sensors indicate your physiology is adapted to conditions most Alliance species would find extremely hostile. Jack smiled. Earth is what you might call a heavy world. High gravity, dense atmosphere, large temperature variations from equator to poles. We have oceans covering most of the planet, active tectonics causing earthquakes and volcanoes, and weather systems that include hurricanes, tornadoes, and blizzards. Medical Officer Pix's tendrils curled in alarm. And your people evolved in these conditions naturally? Completely naturally, Jack confirmed. It made us tough. We can survive injuries that would kill other species. We can adapt to a wide range of environments, and we've developed technology designed to withstand extreme conditions. That explains your ships, Vex noted. The Relentless remained partially functional despite damage that would have destroyed any Alliance vessel. And the Thunderstrike. His rocky features shifted in what the others recognized as awe. I've never seen weapons like that. Jack's expression grew more serious. We developed in a competitive environment. Earth has thousands of predator species. Humans had to become smarter and more inventive than all of them to survive. When we started exploring space, we brought that same mindset with us. Captain Trill leaned forward. This could be concerning to some Alliance members. Many of our species evolved in more cooperative environments. I understand, Jack said. But I hope you've seen that we use our strength to protect, not just to conquer. We could have left you to face those pirates alone after you rescued us. Instead, we helped defend your ship. True, Trill acknowledged. Your actions speak well of your people. The ship's communication system chimed. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Alliance High Command, Officer Mick reported from the bridge. Put it through to the conference room, Trill ordered. The large screen on the wall activated, showing an elderly Floraxian with elaborate ceremonial petals framing their face. This was High Commander Zell, one of the most senior officials in the Alliance. Captain Trill, the commander began, your preliminary report has caused quite a stir. The Council wishes to meet these humans immediately. Trill bowed respectfully. We are en route to Outpost 7, High Commander. From there we can... No, Zell interrupted. This is too important. A diplomatic vessel has been dispatched to intercept you. It will arrive within hours. The human representatives will be brought directly to Alliance Central. Jack raised his eyebrows but said nothing. This was clearly not standard procedure. After the communication ended, Trill turned to Jack. I apologize for the abruptness. The Council rarely acts with such haste. No offense taken, Jack replied. But I should consult with Captain Laura. This changes our plans. Minutes later, in a private communication with the Thunderstrike, Jack explained the situation to Captain Laura. Her image on the small screen looked concerned. The Alliance seems eager to establish formal relations, Jack noted. Laura nodded. Too eager, perhaps. We don't know enough about them yet. Their technology is impressive in some ways, but their weapons and defenses are far behind ours. That creates an imbalance that could be problematic. "What are you thinking?" Jack asked. "I'm thinking we proceed with caution," Laura replied. "Accept their invitation but limit what we share. And Jack," she paused, "don't tell them about the Sol Defense Fleet. Let them think the Thunderstrike is one of our most powerful ships, not just a mid-range patrol vessel." Jack's eyes widened slightly. "You think they might see us as a threat?" "I think any species would be concerned about meeting a more advanced civilization with superior military capability," Laura said pragmatically. "Let's ease them into it." After ending the communication, Jack rejoined the Alliance officers. "Captain Laura agrees to meet with your diplomatic vessel. She suggests we transfer the data core from the Relentless to Alliance Central as a gesture of goodwill." Trill seemed pleased. "Excellent. The diplomatic vessel should arrive within 6 hours." The next day, Jack stood in the docking bay of a massive Alliance diplomatic ship called the Celestial Envoy. It dwarfed both the Serene Harmony and even the Thunderstrike. Ornate and beautiful, it was clearly designed to impress rather than fight. Captain Laura had joined him along with her first officer, a tall human named Ben. They were meeting with Alliance diplomat Mira, a graceful being with gossamer wings and iridescent skin. "On behalf of the Alliance Council, I welcome you," Mira said, her voice musical and soothing. "Your discovery is a historic moment for all spacefaring civilizations." "We're honored by your welcome," Laura replied diplomatically. "Earth looks forward to establishing peaceful relations with the Alliance." As they walked through the grand corridors of the diplomatic vessel, Jack noticed the curious glances from the diverse Alliance crew members. News of the humans had clearly spread quickly. Diplomat Mira led them to a luxurious conference room. "The Council has many questions about Earth and humanity," she said. "They are particularly interested in your technology and how you defeated the Vrexian pirates so easily." Laura smiled politely. "We're happy to share information about our exploration mission and general capabilities. Some technical details, however, remain classified until formal relations are established." Mira's wings fluttered slightly, a sign of disappointment, Jack guessed. "Of course, security concerns are understandable. We have questions as well," Ben added, "about the Alliance structure, member species, territories, and policies." "All reasonable inquiries," Mira agreed. "We have prepared extensive information packages for you." As they settled into the meeting, Jack couldn't help but notice the subtle tension. The Alliance representatives were unfailingly polite, but clearly eager to learn about human technology, particularly their weapons. Meanwhile, Laura skillfully deflected these questions while gathering as much intelligence as possible about the Alliance. It was a diplomatic dance, and humans were proving to be skilled dancers. Later, in their private quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel, Jack, Laura, and Ben discussed what they had learned. The Alliance spans over 40 star systems, Ben reported. 47 member species, most from what they call moderate worlds. They've never encountered a species from a high-gravity planet with our level of technology. "They're peaceful," Jack noted. "That's good, but they're also vulnerable. Those pirates were a serious threat to them." Laura nodded thoughtfully. "I think I understand why they're so interested in us. They need protectors. And they see humans as potential defenders against threats they can't handle themselves," Jack concluded. The three humans considered this realization in silence. Humanity had just stepped onto a much larger stage than they had anticipated when the Relentless began its survey mission. The decisions they made in the coming days would shape Earth's place in the galaxy for generations to come. 3 weeks after their first encounter with the Alliance, the human delegation stood in the Grand Council chamber at Alliance Central. The massive space was designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes, with special seating areas for aquatic species and low-gravity dwellers. Captain Laura, now wearing a formal Earth diplomatic uniform, led the human delegation. Captain Jack and First Officer Ben stood beside her, along with 2 new arrivals from Earth. Ambassador Wilson, a seasoned diplomat, and Dr. Maya, Earth's leading xenobiologist. The council chamber hummed with excited conversation as representatives from all 47 Alliance species gathered to witness this historic moment. Many had traveled for days just to see these strange new beings called humans. High Commander Zell called for silence, his petals fully extended in formal display. Today marks a momentous occasion in Alliance history, he announced. For the first time in over 200 cycles, we welcome a completely new civilization to our galactic community. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds that served as applause among the various species. Captain Trill and his crew from the Serene Harmony sat in a place of honor, recognized for their role in making first contact. Ambassador Wilson stepped forward to address the council. Unlike the military personnel, he was older, with gray hair and lines on his face that showed his age. This surprised many Alliance members, as most species kept their representatives youthful through medical technology. Esteemed council members and representatives, Wilson began, his voice calm and measured. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I bring greetings of peace and friendship. Our encounter with your Alliance was unexpected but fortunate. We have much to learn from each other. High Commander Zell gestured with his upper arms. We have reviewed the reports from Captain Trill and the data from the Vrexian incident. The Council is most impressed by human capabilities. Your technology, particularly your defensive and propulsion systems, appears quite advanced. Wilson smiled diplomatically. Earth has focused considerable resources on space exploration and security. Our history taught us to be prepared for any situation. This preparedness served you well against the pirates, noted Council Member Drell, a massive being with a crystalline exoskeleton. We have struggled with Vrexian raids for many cycles. Your single vessel eliminated threats that would require an entire Alliance defense fleet. Ambassador Wilson nodded respectfully, but did not elaborate further on human military capabilities. Instead, he changed the subject. We're more interested in cultural and scientific exchange. Dr. Maya is eager to learn about the biology of Alliance species, and we've brought databases on Earth agriculture, medicine, and sustainable energy. That may benefit Alliance worlds. The Council seemed pleased by this offer. Several members leaned forward with interest when Wilson mentioned Earth's advanced medical techniques, which had been developed to treat the many injuries humans suffered on their dangerous homeworld. Council Member Liss, a small Fury being with large eyes, raised a question. What does Earth seek from this alliance? Most new members require protection, technology, or resources. Captain Laura stepped forward to answer. Earth is self-sufficient in resources. We have developed our technology independently, and as you've seen, we can protect ourselves. She paused. What we seek is knowledge, new perspectives, friends among the stars. For thousands of years, humans wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we are not, and we wish to be good neighbors. The simplicity and sincerity of this statement seemed to resonate with the Council. Many representatives nodded or made their species equivalent gestures of approval. High Commander Zell spoke again. The Alliance operates on principles of mutual benefit and assistance. Each member contributes according to their abilities and receives according to their needs. Based on what we have observed, humans could be valuable members indeed. After hours of discussion covering everything from trade, possibilities to cultural exchange programs, the Council called for a formal vote on establishing official relations with Earth. The result was unanimous approval. As the formal proceedings ended, the delegates broke into smaller groups for more personal conversations. Captain Jack found himself speaking with Captain Trill and his crew from the Serene Harmony. Your Council seems very enthusiastic about humans joining the Alliance, Jack observed. Trill's 4 arms made a gesture of agreement. Your timing is fortunate. The Alliance has faced growing challenges in recent years. Pirate activity has increased. Several non-Alliance species at our borders have shown aggression. Some Council members were beginning to fear for our future. And now they see humans as powerful allies, Jack concluded. Is that not what you wish to be? Asked Security Chief Vex, his rocky features impossible to read. Jack considered his answer carefully. Humans have a complicated history. On Earth we fought each other for centuries before learning to work together. When we finally achieved peace, we turned our warrior instincts toward exploration and protection rather than conquest. A wise evolution, noted Medical Officer Pix. Jack smiled. We're still evolving. Meeting the Alliance is the next step in that process. But yes, we, too, want to be allies, friends even. On the other side of the chamber, Dr. Maya was engaged in animated conversation with scientists from various Alliance species. Her enthusiasm for learning about their biology was matched by their fascination with humans. Your healing capabilities are remarkable, said a Floraxian doctor, and your adaptive immune system. Most species require medical intervention for even minor infections. Maya nodded. Earth is filled with microorganisms. Humans evolved alongside them, developing natural defenses. What doesn't kill us literally makes us stronger. And your skeleton, exclaimed another scientist. Internal support structures that continuously regenerate. Fascinating design. Meanwhile, Ambassador Wilson and Captain Laura were meeting with the Alliance Defense Committee. The discussion had turned to the Rexian pirates and other threats. Would Earth consider joint defense? Operations in troubled sectors? Asked Committee Chair Grawl. We could discuss limited patrols, Laura answered cautiously. But Earth's primary focus is exploration, not expansion or military occupation. Wilson added, we believe in helping others defend themselves. Perhaps sharing some defensive technology would be more beneficial in the long term. This approach seemed to both relieve and disappoint the committee members, who had clearly hoped for more direct military assistance. As the diplomatic reception continued late into the night, news of the historic agreement between Earth and the Alliance was being transmitted to all Alliance worlds. Across 47 star systems, beings of all descriptions watched images of these strange new humans and wondered what their arrival would mean. Back on Earth, the United World Council received the transmission from Ambassador Wilson confirming successful first contact. Preparations began immediately for welcoming Alliance representatives to Earth. Special environmental habitats were designed to accommodate visitors from worlds with different atmospheric requirements. 6 months later, the Alliance diplomatic vessel Celestial Harmony entered Earth's solar system, carrying representatives from 12 major Alliance species. As they approached the blue-green planet, they were met by an honor guard of Earthships. What the Alliance delegation didn't know was that most of Earth's defense fleet remained hidden, according to the cautious policy established during the initial contact. Humans were eager for friendship, but prudent about revealing all their capabilities too quickly. As the Celestial Harmony moved into orbit around Earth, its passengers stared in wonder at the planet below. To them, it looked beautiful, but terrifying. Swirling world of powerful storms, vast oceans, and extreme climate zones. The fact that intelligent life had not only survived but thrived in such conditions seemed almost miraculous. Now I understand, whispered Captain Trill, who had been invited as part of the delegation. This is not just a home. It's a crucible. Beside him, First Officer Glip's watery body rippled with emotion. And from this crucible came humans. Let us hope, Trill replied softly, that they remember what their harsh world taught them. Survival requires both strength and compassion. As the first Alliance representatives prepared to descend to Earth's surface, a new chapter in galactic history began. The Deathworlders had arrived on the cosmic stage, and nothing would ever be the same again.